Watch this.
Idaho taxpayers will foot the bill now that state police and ICE are partnering together to transport undocumented criminals to holding facilities. Some community members worry this could lead to racial profiling. We talked to the governor and director of Idaho State Police. Justices have handed in a decision. Now, Idaho's ballots will look a little different after a group sued the state over what it said was biased language. If you're new to the area, maybe Meridian, Idaho, you may wonder why a city known for roundabouts and rapid growth is taking an entire weekend to celebrate cows. It's Dairy Days, a time to celebrate history and heritage. The state of Idaho is officially set to partner with ICE to help transport undocumented criminals from county jails to ICE holding facilities. Funding for the program was approved just today by the state's top elected officials. The agreement with ICE was announced back on June 5th through the federal 287G program, allowing state police to transport unauthorized immigrants convicted of crimes that have served their sentence, and they'll be transported to detention centers where they'll be processed for deportation. Under the agreement, the state is authorized to spend up to $300,000 over the next year. Immigrant advocacy groups spoke out when the agreement was announced. They worry this program opens the door for racial profiling and possible raids in search of undocumented people. I spoke with Governor Brad Little and the director of Idaho State Police about those concerns and the scope of this agreement. Idaho is now investing in transporting undocumented people convicted of serious crimes to ICE detention centers. The State Board of Examiners approved up to $300,000 for the program over the next 12 months.
Why should Idahoans be paying for this instead of the federal government?
Well, and we may get paid back. I was on a conference call with Secretary Noem, and we may get paid back. But I don't want to say, well, send us some money first. We're going to do it. But there's a good chance that we will be paid back from the federal government.
The move follows an immigration executive order from Governor Brad Little that prompted a discussion between Idaho State Police, Homeland Security, and ICE to figure out how Idaho can help carry out President Trump's immigration policies.
I know there's some community concern that this is going to end up in ICE raids or people just getting picked up on the side of the road. What exactly is this program focused on?
This is specifically, and actually, the program, the 287G, has got different aspects of it. The aspect that we've signed on to is that these are people that have been arrested, been convicted, served their time, and they're otherwise they just go back out on the street. And even before we call ICE, they wouldn't do anything. But now this administration has a whole different. But these are, this is.
We found that there were often times where, for instance, somebody would commit robbery, they'd serve their time, they'd go back out because ICE couldn't transport them, and they'd commit robbery again, and then they go right back in. So we found several instances of repeat offenders coming in and out of the system and never having that chance for them to be taken back to their home countries.
Colonel Bill Gardner is director of the Idaho State Police. Troopers will essentially work as ICE personnel stand-ins to strictly do transports.
Is this like troopers coming in on their days off or trying to earn some overtime? I know that was part of the budget request.
Yes, that's exactly what it would be. It would be troopers on their day off coming in and working an overtime shift to make these transports happen. Typically, the arrangement that we have with ICE is that they would give us 2 or 3 days notice to, this particular jail we'd do a pickup, and then we would move to this jail and do a pickup, and here's where we would transport them.
In recent years, Idaho would notify ICE about undocumented people set to be released from county jails, but ICE simply didn't have resources to pick those people up for transport to ICE facilities to be processed for deportation. The $300,000 won't cover every single case. State police will be tasked with deciding how to best use the funds.
We have the options to say yes or no on which particular people that are there that we are going to be transporting. And so I have to really look at who are they asking us to transport? Do we have the resources available to do it? And if we do, then we're going to help.
And is that your decision of just, looking at a roster of names and deciding who do we get? Who do we let go? Is that your decision alone, or how does that work?
Yeah, so ICE will provide the names, and then we as an agency will look through those names and determine this is who we think should go based on the crime that they've committed.
And is there like a rubric or like a uniform, what you're looking for, or is it kind of case by case?
Yeah, it really is case by case. I don't think that would be very respectful to have just a list of crimes and say if you've committed these, then you can be expected to be transported out of the state. I think the better approach is to look at the individual, look at the crime. Was there a firearm involved? Were they crimes against children? Was it domestic violence? Was it human trafficking? Was it illicit drugs? There are so many variables that go into how we will use our resource that we just want to get the best bang for our buck.
The worst of the worst, the people that we know in a high probability they're going to reoffend, and we're going to have them back in our system. And those are the ones we want to keep the people of Idaho safe. It's pretty simple.
As the agreement with ICE was announced, immigrant communities spoke out with concerns about Idaho agents' involvement in things like racial profiling, detainment of people who have not committed a crime, and actions that could go beyond the intended scope of the 287G program.
It's not just, hey, we're going to start looking for people and asking for documents.
Yeah, if you've overstayed your worker visa or your tourist visa or your guest visa, you are not subject to that.
You will not see Idaho State Troopers, raiding businesses. We are not raiding dairies. We're not doing anything of that sort. What we are doing is we are helping to transport criminals that are getting released from jails out of the state. That's the role that we're playing. It's very simple. Regardless of where you stand with politics, no one, I can't imagine anyone wants somebody who's committed robbery or assault or rape to be injected back into a community. And we really see ourselves as utilizing the tools that we have and those resources to make sure our people are safe.
The program is expected to roll out in the coming weeks, and Colonel Gardner says that state police are working to make sure that the program is transparent. The $300,000 approved today is enough for about 100 transports, so ISP will be coordinating to do multiple pickups from counties on the same day to maximize the use of the budget. Right now, there's really only one ICE facility. That's the Jefferson County Jail in Rigby, Idaho. Governor Little tells me that he spoke with Secretary Kristi Noem about county jail space. They are working to get more jails across the state online to be ICE centers. To be clear, though, this isn't to say that ICE enforcement is strictly bound to this program. This agreement is just the extent that Idaho personnel are involved. Immigration enforcement through ICE and their decisions, that is a federal authority. That is up to them, and the state of Idaho and their investigators might not know what their federal partners are doing. And coming up tonight on the news at 6, Gabriela Lopez shares community reaction on the potential impact on immigrant families. A months-long legal battle over abortion ballot language has ended with the Idaho Supreme Court's decision late yesterday. The group, Idahoans United for Women and Families, sued state officials over what the group says was biased ballot language, and the court found that the state's ballot title and fiscal impact statement failed to meet legal requirements. Aspen Shumpert has reaction from those involved in what this means for getting the measure to voters.
We know in the stories we hear from women and their husbands and their loved ones who on the worst day of their life, it's made much worse, more traumatic, more dangerous, more expensive by the overreach of our government. And we know that we can end that through the Citizens Ballot Initiative.
The group Idahoans United for Women and Families is trying to reverse Idaho's near total abortion ban.
We know that the standard we had for personal liberty, for private decision making, for an environment where doctors felt like they could take care of their patients is gone. And that is because of the ban.
Idaho's Attorney General is responsible for writing the ballot initiative's titles based on language submitted from the group. And the Idaho Division of Financial Management is responsible for the initiative's fiscal statement. But the group says the state's descriptions of the initiative were misleading and incomplete.
The short title and the fiscal impact statement are the two most critical pieces printed on the ballot. They are designed to summarize exactly what a law does and summarize exactly what the law will cost.
As the legal process has played out, it stopped the group from gathering the needed signatures for the initiative to make it on the November 2026 ballot.
Not being able to collect signatures during a time in Idaho when there are tons of community festivals, gatherings, the weather is the best weather we have all year. Folks are out of school. Needless to say, we were literally burning daylight.
But the legal battle ended Monday.
We're very grateful the wait is over.
The court found the Attorney General's short ballot title fails to substantially comply with state law because it failed to alert voters to key provisions.
They are the fact that we are decriminalizing abortion in cases of medical emergency, life and health of the mother, and in cases of a fetal diagnosis. That's big. And that we are also decriminalizing doctors in this state. Those are two key components that were prior omitted, and we think they're important to the voters of Idaho.
The court also found the fiscal impact statement fails to substantially comply with the good faith requirement and contain conflicting statements that create confusion.
This would cost nothing or next to nothing. Fiscal impact statement should have reflected that, and it didn't. It contained jargon, it contained confusing information, and completely extraneous random numbers that only served to confuse voters in the future.
The AG's office, in a statement to KTVB, says the court rejected other legal concerns the group claimed, like a biased long ballot title and a flawed approach to ballot titles. Idaho's Attorney General Raul Labrador says his office will move swiftly to revise the short title with the court's guidance.
This is an Idaho movement. This is an Idaho problem. We've written an Idaho law to fix it. It is going to be powered by Idahoans carrying this. We're going to make up for lost time. We are going to come out of the gate at a sprint, and I'm confident we will be able to meet that challenge. The stakes are too high not to.
The Attorney General and the Division of Financial Management have until Monday at 4 p.m. to turn in a new title and new fiscal impact statement to the court based on their specifications. The court will review those for compliance, and the Secretary of State's office will certify the petition, and the group can start circulating and collecting signatures. Joe, they need 70,000 signatures for this initiative to make it onto the ballot. I know their goal is much more than that at 100,000. Again, they need all their signatures by the end of April next year to make it onto the November ballot of next year.
And we know that some campaigns have had significantly longer to get those signatures, so it'll be interesting to see what this group does. Again, the goal is to have this on the November 2026 ballot.
Yep.
That would be up to Idaho voters then.
Yes.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on it. Thanks, Aspen. More Idaho news. The Nampa mayor says she will not be going for another term in office. Plus, this weekend marks the official start of summer with both the solstice and the start of Boise float season. Brenda Rodriguez has the details in today's 411.
Nampa Mayor Debbie Kling says she will not seek re-election in November. That's according to her partners at the Idaho Press. Kling, who was first elected to the position in 2018, has served 2 terms. During her time as mayor, Nampa grew by more than 20,000 people. No word on why she decided to not run again, but in a press release, Kling said, quote, "It has been an honor to serve the people of Nampa." Floaters rejoice. The official float season on the Boise River opens this Friday. First responders are reminding floaters that safety must come first when hitting the river.
Wear a life jacket. This is absolutely mandatory for anyone that is 14 or younger, but we recommend anyone of any age wears a life jacket.
First responders also say it's important to pay attention to your surroundings. Don't tie your tubes and raft together, and wear proper water shoes. An alert for you, the Loggers Creek Bridge along the Greenbelt will be closed today and tomorrow. During the closures, broken boards will be replaced. Detours will route pedestrians and cyclists around the bridge closure through the Baybrook Court Bridge and the Broadway Bridge. Detours will be posted along the route. The 100th annual Snake River Stampede kicks off today. It's called the wildest, fastest show on Earth. And if it feels early for the rodeo, well, it is. This year, it's a month earlier than normal, but it is still happening at the Ford Idaho Center in Nampa. The rodeo starts nightly at 7:30, followed by a concert in the amphitheater. Saturday is Family Day with a matinee rodeo at noon and the championship final starting at 7:30. Also kicking off today, the National Old Time Fiddlers Contest in Weiser. The event draws some of the finest fiddlers from across the country to Weiser High School. Today, the junior and youth division will take the stage. The live competitions will also be streamed on Facebook and on YouTube. The competition runs through Saturday. That's the 411 on the 208. I'm Brenda Rodriguez.
If you're new to Meridian, Idaho, you might wonder why a city known for roundabouts and rapid growth takes an entire weekend to celebrate cows. But long before the traffic lights and townhomes, this was dairy country. Meridian's Dairy Days began nearly a century ago when farmers gathered to see who had the best Holstein in town. And as Hunter Funk tells us, the heritage hasn't faded, it's just taking on a new form.
Yes, 96 years ago, you could find dairies everywhere, and farmers from all over the Treasure Valley brought their milk to a central hub, the Meridian Creamery. Well, it's now where you'll find City Hall. In 1948, they added a dairy show to the annual Creamery celebration, and by 1949, they moved the party to the dairy grounds, what's now known as the Meridian Speedway.
When I moved here in 1981, I could think of at least 4 dairies within a mile of me. Of course, none of them are left now, unfortunately.
The dairies may now be few and far between, but their footprint remains. Meridian Dairy Days isn't just about the new carnival rides or the hot air balloons, but rather remembering what this place once was and who helped build it.
I think it has a lot to do with, your history and your heritage. Even though all that change, is still kind of important to know where we came from and what started this valley.
And now it's about who takes it from here, because behind the scenes, before the parades and pageants, you'll find young FFA and 4-H students up before sunrise hauling feed and combing cattle. Now they are learning how to raise and show livestock, and also how to show up for something bigger than themselves. Coming up at 6, we're going to take you out to one of those families who is embracing the early mornings and hard work, which is what makes Meridian Dairy Days keep the tradition of showing off the best of the best when it comes to cows.
I remember when I moved to Idaho, Dairy Days was like one of the very first things I went to as a reporter, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. They shut down Main Street, they have a great parade.
Yes.
Community loves it.
And it is so Idaho. When you think about it, you're just like, yeah, we would celebrate our cows.
Yeah. The cows are great. I think they're what? There's got to be more cows than people in Idaho, right?
I mean, I think there's some study out there. Yeah.
We'll look into it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Hunter.
been talking about all day. The Boise River float season officially opens on Friday, the first day of summer, and in a cruel twist of fate, Saturday, first full day of summer, second full day of the floating season will end up being our coolest day that we've seen in quite some time. A first alert weather day for a dramatic drop in temperatures, scattered showers, cool blustery winds, and by Sunday morning, we're talking a couple inches of mountain snow on the very highest peaks of Idaho's Central Mountains. So that's what's coming our way for the weekend, unfortunately. But before that, we have some hot temperatures to get through. Today is very pleasant, courtesy of a ridge of high pressure that is starting to re-amplify behind yesterday's cold front. Tomorrow ends up being our hottest day of the week. Then on Thursday into Friday, this system starts making its approach. It's an unusually cold system for this time of year. That's what will take our temperatures into very brisk territory over the weekend. We're talking highs not making it out of the 60s on Saturday morning, lows in the 40s this weekend. That's what's coming our way. But man, if floating season was today, it would be perfect. We're at 87 degrees in Boise right now, 83 in Twin Falls, a few clouds popping up over Payette Lake, but the mountains mid to upper 70s, really lovely. Tomorrow we'll crank the thermostat a little bit further. Nothing but sunshine overhead. We'll be in the mid 60s by 8 o'clock, low 80s in Boise tomorrow by lunchtime, heading for a high of 93 degrees. That's about 12 degrees above normal for the final few days of spring. For the rest of the region, temperatures tomorrow generally mid to upper 50s for the Snake Plain. We'll wake up to 30s and 40s up in the mountains. Very warm no matter where you're spending your Wednesday. Mid 90s across the Treasure Valley. Low 90s tomorrow in the Magic Valley. 70s and 80s up in the mountains. 7-day forecast shows those 90s holding on into Thursday, the Juneteenth holiday. First day of summer brings in our first cool down, a high of 80 on Friday, mid 60s. That's it on Saturday with scattered showers and blustery winds. Good news is we do rebound after that. Takes a couple days, but by Tuesday, we're back into the 80s with lots of sunshine next week.
All right, end of the half hour. Let's get to some of your comments. This person says on the ICE Idaho agreement, they said, so if they serve their time for petty theft and have 10 years of working experience in agricultural field, will they still be deported? That is a decision that would be up to the federal agents, but very clear, Idaho's involvement in this is a person that has been convicted, an undocumented person that's been convicted of a crime. They have served their entire sentence. The county jail will call their federal partners at ICE and say, we have this person that is going to get out on this day. If you're interested in picking them up, they will be available. That is Idaho's only involvement in that. They're going to help doing some transports between county jails and the ICE facilities. There's really only one right now in Jefferson County, in Rigby, Idaho. So that's just kind of the nature of Idaho's agreement there. So I don't know the answer to that question. The 208, the ICE support sounds like no due process for immigrants. Jack in Boise. Jack, appreciate the comment. Again, the due process in terms of what's going on at the state level is these are people that have served their sentence at the state level, and then it is up to the federal jurisdictions in terms of what they want to do on their immigration status. Some other questions here. Yes, Joe, the cows rule in Idaho. Kristen Mountain Home, and we got some context here from Bill J. Around 2.5 million cows in Idaho. They outnumber the people, so I guess it's the cow state.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.